Ah, who goes there? Oh, it is only you, Internet. Well, out with it. What would you have of me, eh? A review, is it? A review? Yes, I could review something for you this day. I could review the magic circle. Yes, I'll give you this review, you knave, and afterwards, I'll sexually molest you. Yes.
BXB. It's in the game.
So yeah, here I am in my most wizardly gear to talk to you about the Magic Circle. The Magic Circle is initially it's an unfinished game, and you can complete it in around 10 to 12 minutes. But herein lies the rub. The Magic Circle is a game about an unfinished game, and where it begins, it starts. No, where it ends, it begins. Something like that. Anyway, it makes a lot more sense when you play it. Now, it's kind of the law, I think, now that indie developers, every game that they create has got to be both meta and emotionally engaging. I do really love the word meta, but it's going to be a hard one to get away from when we talk about the Magic Circle, because this is a very meta game indeed. We'll get onto that a bit more later. And in terms of it being emotionally engaging, it's certainly a satire. There's an early part in the game when you get a sword quite early on, pretty standard for an RPG. Then one of the game developers pops up and bemoans the fact that developers create these wonderful worlds, these fantastic, believable worlds and stories, when all players really want to do is run around and kill everything in sight. You probably get your sword taken off you. And later on, it also kind of compares the average player to a reptile with a credit card. So, you know, guilty as charged.
Who are you? A new playtester? Well, let me save you some time. Today, I push the buttons.
Ish, we are not changing this part again.
20 years, Maze. 20 years I've wasted writing about the almighty player. But who is the player anyway? They're like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Genocide. They demand a world full of deep, compelling characters, yet at any time, they reserve the right to turn said people into piles of gently glowing ash. Well, what possible story could survive these conditions?
It's a murder mystery now? Everyone's dead. Who could do such a thing? Oh yeah, me.
Look! Look at our hero. A lonely mute who can't even lower their killing hand. Matricide is just how they say hi.
Your story needs Mom to live, so I have to cut all weapons out of the game? Negative. Fire me.
Never.
Sorry, bro. Long story. No choice.
All right, what was next?
So once you get past the storyline, which has you as a kind of rogue playtester let loose in this game that seems to be stuck in development hell, either to fix it or perhaps to cause carnage, you've got the gameplay itself. And I don't think I've ever come across anything quite like it. It is an RPG. It's not an open world. It is quite linear, although a very beautiful and striking world. As you'll see from some of the video clips, it's got this fantastic kind of pen and ink, cel-shaded art style, and I think it really lends the idea that you're in something finished and kind of scrappy. And it really is quite it's quite evocative of this strange broken world. But the gameplay has you going around and kind of editing creatures, rewriting their programming. It's a little bit difficult to get to grips with, and it had me perplexed for a short while. But it's very innovative, and I think what's interesting is this could have been done as a conventional RPG story, with you as some kind of wizard going around and controlling creatures' minds and altering their behaviour in a standard fantasy setting. But the fact that it's wrapped around this very unusual story of a game within a game it's highly original, and it works exceptionally well. and lo, there was slightly more light. And in this light now you can see that I'm not a wizard at all. I'm wearing a Jedi dressing gown. Fantastic. So the main mechanic of this game is the editing of the various creatures that you come across. So if you come across there's a monster called a howler. It moves along the ground, it attacks you with its teeth. So you can remove its ability to attack, you can remove its ability to move, and you can transfer that to other creatures. You can also change their allegiances. At one point I found a mushroom and edited its code to give it the power to move, give it teeth, and also make it hate me. Looking back, I'm not entirely sure why I did that, but I think you get an impression of how this works. And it is interesting because there's so many variations, and you can play around and use different creatures as stepping stones, creatures to attack, you can make creatures fireproof. There's so many variations, probably thousands and thousands of variations of what you can actually do.
If it's alive in this world, everything it does is a word of God. Fly or fall, fight or fuck, they burned that word into its head and said, go. You want to take on the Sky Bastard? You gotta trap their creations, tear the powers out of them, and stitch them back together your way.
As to the big question of how the game plays, the controls are probably best described as utilitarian. You can jump, you can use your power to edit creatures, drain life from the world around you, and grant life to creatures and objects that have been erased from the game. And not much else, to be honest. You can't run, or if there's a run button, it's very well hidden. And that really is one of the major issues that I've actually got with this game, is that you do tend to plod around. The game does start off quite linear, but later on you get a bit more room to roam around and discover things for yourself. And I would like to be able to discover those things a lot faster than I am. That I have is the difficulty really of this game, and it's not analog. There doesn't seem to be any curve. It's quite digital. I found myself either stuck or just breezing through and almost going through the motions. I think in a lesser game this would be a huge problem. It's not great here, but the fact is that the game is so inventive, so much fun, and so enjoyable to explore that you are willing to give that to a degree. Well, I was anyway. Is Magic Circle something that you should spend your money on? Yeah, it really is. The game is full of great ideas. The story about these warring game developers, to me, felt like one huge in-joke, and I didn't really engage with it at all, unfortunately. However, do bear in mind that I am actually dead inside. But if you might like the story, you might not. Ultimately, the game itself is fantastic, and it's something that I really hope the developers do develop, for want of a better word, in the future. I'm really keen to see where they go with this. I would like to see Magic Circle 2. I really would. So yeah, for Magic Circle, 2 thumbs up.